Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. We're here for a special edition, or a special video, a new series, shall we say. And basically, what we're doing, we're calling it a loan watch, and we're going to assess the players which Cardiff City have had at the club this year who are on loan. And first up is myself taking a look at Josh Bowler. So Josh Bowler appeared in the vast majority of Cardiff's championship matches in 23-24 season, made 38 appearances overall, playing, depending on which website you look at, played about 2,394 minutes of playing time. Was in the starting 11 for 30 of those appearances across the 46 fixtures and came on as a substitute 8 times. So just away from the statistical side of things and the other stuff which we're going to look at, I'm kind of caught in between with Josh Bowler because I think he took a lot of flack later in the season. Some of it fair, probably some of it not. And there's always seems to be these players for all teams, which once they get a bit of bad run or their performances or their body language, they end up being like a scapegoat and they get the blame a lot. And look, Josh Bowler at times this season has been infuriating. There's the Swansea game where he watched as Perry NG was trying to mark 2 players and Swansea score whilst Josh is adjusting his hairband at 20 yards out, which is frustrating. But also when he first, before he got injured at the start of the season, he looked very direct, very skillful, picked up a couple of goals and he was exciting. I did feel, and I said, I'm not going to go back on what I said. I felt like when he came back from that injury break, there was a change in his body language and his attitude for whatever reason. And I found him to be a bit more frustrating. He does work hard. I think that's a common misconception, was that he was lazy or he didn't work back. I don't think he gave as much protection to Perry NG, for instance, as Carlin Grant would give to Collins on the other side, or Wilson Esperand, or whoever played there. Like, I do feel that Carlin Grant protected his fullback more. However, generally speaking, Josh Bowler's role in the side and his job is not necessarily to defend, it's to create, and it's to be that attacking outlet. One of the things which I think frustrated Cardiff fans was that he very rarely went on the outside on his right foot. And whenever he seemingly did, he seemed to create a goal or a chance. And I think, I had been quite vocal saying, I think he's got all the attributes to be a top championship winger. But I would genuinely like to see him play on the left-hand side because he's very skillful, very quick, very direct. He can beat a man. He's got a shot on him, etc. But I think if you could have him as an out-and-out, almost like a traditional winger, instead of this inverted wingers that we see so much everywhere these days. I'd like to see him be a traditional winger. I think it's unlikely that he'll be back at Cardiff City, but not out of the question. And I would like to see him, if he does return to the football club, I think I would like to see him on the left and be that real traditional winger, high, wide, beat his man, put some crosses in the box, because it was infuriating where he would just constantly cut in, congest the central areas, and it became, as I say, infuriating. So Josh Bowler last appeared for Cardiff City on May the 4th. He played 90 minutes versus Rotherham in a 5-2 defeat. It was the last game of the season. There wasn't too much on it. In total, he notched 5 championship goals this year, making him the club's 3rd top scorer. He also chipped in with, it says 1 assist, but I'm pretty sure he got at least 2. I'll check another website for that. He scored against Middlesbrough. It was the last goal he scored. Obviously, that was a late sort of consolation goal. He opened his account against Leeds in the first game of the season. And as I say, that initial period at the start of the season was exciting. And I think fans were encouraged about what we could possibly see. But it just never quite got going. So looking at his stats for the last year, it's quite an interesting little exercise, or whatever you want to say. I prefer the eye test, generally speaking, but stats can be handy. And sometimes you can see things on stats that maybe help you more understand why the manager sticks with a certain player, because there's no doubt that Bullet stuck with Josh Bowler whenever he was available. He played, and there was other players which the fans and the media maybe were saying that they should get a chance, whether that was Ollie Tanner or whether that was Ruben Caldwell earlier in the season when Ramsey was fit. There was other players that maybe the fans thought could do as an effective job. But in terms of the last 365 days, Josh Bowler's passes attempted is about 22 passes per 90 minutes. He's only in the 6th percentile for that, which is quite low. But he does have quite a high pass completion rate, 75%, which is around the 60th percentile in terms of compared to other attacking midfielders and wingers. He makes a fair bit of blocks. So with blocks and interceptions, for interceptions, he's in the 68th percentile versus other wingers and attackers. And for blocks, he's in the 77th percentile, which is, again, pretty good for a championship winger. And it's kind of interesting because he does get criticised, I think, for his defensive work a lot. But let's look at some of the attacking issues, I guess, which you could call. So attacking take-ons is an interesting one because I think, as I've said, Josh has all the attributes to be a really good direct championship winger. But actually, when you look at the stats, he only had the most successful take-ons he had in one game was 2, apart from one game, which was the 0-0 at Stoke, where he had 6 successful take-ons and he attempted 7. And that's kind of interesting to me. All the other games, the most he had was 2, 1 or 0. In most games, he had at least 1, I think, by the looks of it, apart from maybe some substitute appearances. But that's kind of interesting to me because I'd have assumed that he'd have had more successful take-ons because that was kind of his go-to thing. But again, would he have done better on that left-hand side? It's impossible to say. But I think, it's interesting. In terms of his things like pass completion rate, his pass completion rate all season has been very high. Let's have a look. Well, he had 100% in a game back in December, 89, 78, 94, 85. Throughout the season, it's been pretty high. He doesn't give the ball away much. In fact, the most he gave the ball away was 2nd of March. Who do we play on the 2nd of March? Let's have a look. Apologies, because I've got to adjust the screen. That was against Watford, where he only had a just over 50% pass completion rate. And this is one of the reasons why I believe that Errol Bullitt liked him so much, because he looks after, or certainly from a statistical point of view, he looks after the ball. And I think this manager likes people, like he likes the possession style. So he likes his wingers to not just kind of go down blind alleys or be too risky in their passes. But I also think that whilst I understand looking after the ball, absolutely, and you should be, not giving away simple possession. But I also think in the attacking areas, the likes of Josh Bowler, Ruben Caldwell, Carlin Grant, you should give them, Aaron Ramsey, you should give them more freedom to take a risk and accept that they will take a risk. Because when they take those risks and they express themselves and they play with more fluidity, that's when you see the absolute best of them. Attacking players are a different breed because you've got to let them express themselves to get the best out of them. And I think sometimes, and this could be a tactical thing, an instruction from the coaches, or it could be Josh's natural game. I've only seen a little bit of him away from Cardiff, but he looks on paper like a very direct winger who's very capable, very skillful, etc. But he doesn't seem to give the ball away a great deal. But is that because he kind of goes inside? If he can't get a shot off, he just lays it back and we start again. That's not what I want from my attacking players. That's not what I want from my wingers. I don't want to see Ruben Caldwell, when he's playing number 10, coming right back to in front of a defence, picking up the ball in our own half. I don't want to see the wingers cutting inside and then passing backwards. I want to see the wingers getting isolating the fullback, beating their man, or linking up with the centre forward and little 1-2s behind. That's what I expect of attacking players, is to be creative. Generally speaking, what do I think of Josh Bowler? We mentioned the eye test earlier. I think there's a player there. I really believe that. I really believe that he has all the attributes, technically speaking, to be a top championship winger. My question mark is, has he got the mentality to be consistent, and has he got the mental attributes to be consistent in the championship? And again, you have to consider the tactics. You have to consider the instructions from the managers, or the manager and the coaches. You have to consider he's left-footed, playing off the right-hand side. All these little things come into it. Look, overall, I think Josh Bowler was okay. And I think with some tweaks to the tactics, some tweaks to what is expected of the attacking players, and some positional tweaks, he could have been sensational for Cardiff. I really do think that. And I know he's taken a lot of grief. And it is, look, you have to be able to criticize as well as be positive. You can't just blindly say, oh yeah, he's great, blah, blah, blah. Like, there was issues with his play. He left Perry NG exposed. He left Perry NG doubled up on a lot. But he also did work hard back as well, and he did cover, and it wasn't like a lack of work rate. It was maybe a lack of awareness more than anything. And also, you have to accept, again, tactically, sometimes managers will tell wingers, particularly these days when you've got an attacking, the wingers are almost like strikers who are playing wide in some cases. Maybe not with Josh Bowler, but coaches and managers might allow them to cheat a little bit to get teams on the break. And because Cardiff play a possession style, because Cardiff look to attack on the counter and in the transitions, he might be telling Josh to, stay a bit further forward, because if it breaks down, we can break and use your pace. So yes, you can criticize him sometimes for not helping out a bit more, or not being aware of the danger at the back post, or helping Perry NG. But also you have to understand why. And I think that probably is part of the reason, because I don't think it's a lack of effort. I like, regardless of what you think of Josh Bowler, if you think he's been great, you think he's been terrible, I don't think it's a lack of effort. I don't think it's like a case of a lone player who doesn't care. I think it's a mixture of maybe some lack of awareness defensively, which is understandable because he's an attacking player, so he's not used to thinking about the defensive side of things. But also, and I think we saw that with Ollie Tanner when he played fullback later in the season. Yes, he did very well, but he also got, he was out of position a little bit and things like that, because they're naturally attacking players. They're naturally used to looking forward and playing higher up the pitch. So yeah, I understand the criticisms of Josh Bowler. I've criticised him at times myself this season, but I don't think he's been as bad as everyone said, but I also don't think he's been great. If it was up to me, would I have him back next year? Hand on heart, probably not. I would consider him on a free. Like, if it was a free transfer, permanent transfer, I would consider it and play him on the left. Outside of that, I think Keane Ashford did a better job on the right. Ollie Tanner has shown that he can play left or right. He's not a player that I would necessarily be looking to sign again next year. However, I don't think he's been as bad as some people make out, but he also wasn't great. I'd probably give him a sort of 5.5, 6 out of 10, which is just average. Like, he was okay. Thank him for his time. Thank you for your effort. Thank you for your commitment, etc. And wish you well for the future. We'll be back over the next couple of weeks. We'll be looking back at the different players. I think think Matt's doing Nathaniel Phillips, or it might be Rob or Boy. All the boys, we're going to do different ones. We're going to do all the things. We're going to have a look at some of the young players who come in. Just keep the content going, as we got Cardiff City World 7 days a week. We've got the summer. I've also got another video looking at the financial side of things. I've had a bit more information and stuff about that, so I'm going to sort of talk about what I think Vincent Tan needs to do. So look out for that video as well. Please do subscribe to Cardiff City World. Please do subscribe to Ace Podcast Nation. Spread the word. Tell your Cardiff City friends. And if you want to get involved, please do. If you haven't got your tickets for the Joe Ledley night, get them quick, because there's only a couple left. Nice one.